The music didn't stop when she stood up. That was the first thing that went wrong. Everyone expected sound to change. Chairs scraping, whispers breaking into gasps. But the music continued, smooth and confident, as if nothing had happened. As if the moment didn't require permission to exist. She was already being watched before she said anything. From the aisle, she could see shoes first. Polished leather. Clean lines. People dressed for memory. No one had dressed for interruption. No one ever does. She didn't belong here. That much was obvious without explanation. Her clothes said it before her posture did. Her presence bent the room in a way no one had planned for. Someone reached for her arm. Someone else murmured a name that wasn't hers. A voice told her this wasn't allowed. She didn't argue. At the front of the room, the man turned. Not fully at first. Just enough to confirm the disturbance was real. He didn't recognize her. He had no reason to. Their lives weren't supposed to overlap like this. She held up the phone. It looked wrong in her hand. Too small. Too old. The screen cracked like something that had been dropped and kept anyway. "I need you to hear this," she said. No accusation. No explanation. Just a request that landed heavier than it should have. The people closest to her reacted first. Discomfort moved faster than curiosity. Someone laughed under their breath. Someone else looked away, embarrassed for reasons they didn't examine. The man didn't move. He should have asked who she was. He should have waved her away. There were systems in place for this kind of thing, guards, schedules, expectations. Instead, he waited. The music faltered. Not stopped. Just thinned. Like someone realizing too late they were holding their breath. She didn't press play yet. There was a moment, small, almost invisible, where it could have ended differently. Where he could have turned back. Where she could have been removed and forgotten before the day changed shape. That moment passed. When the sound finally came from the phone, it didn't fill the room. It didn't need to. It carried just far enough. Faces shifted. Someone whispered his name. Someone else whispered hers, guessing wrong. She watched him listen. Not react. Not deny. Listen. The wedding didn't end all at once. That came later. What ended first was certainty. And that was enough to begin. The recording lasts 38 seconds. No one moves for the first 10. Then everyone moves at once. The woman beside the man, his bride, presumably, steps forward. Her dress catches light in a way that costs money. She doesn't look at Maris. She looks at him, waiting for something that doesn't come. "What is this?" she asks. Not angry yet. Just confused in the specific way people are when the script breaks. He doesn't answer. The voice on the recording is still audible in the silence that follows. Not the words anymore. Just the fact of it. The shape it left behind. Someone near the back stands. Then someone else. Movement spreads unevenly. People unsure whether to stay or intervene or pretend they didn't hear. A man in a dark suit reaches Maris first. He's professional about it. Hands visible, voice low. "Ma'am, I need you to come with me." She doesn't resist. She also doesn't move. "Did you hear it?" she asks the groom. He's staring at the phone like it might explain itself. "I heard something," he says slowly. "I don't know what I heard." The bride's hand finds his arm. "David." He doesn't look at her. "Where did you get that?" he asks Maris. "The building," she says. "Downstairs. In the walls." Someone laughs. It sounds wrong immediately, and the person knows it. The sound dies before it finishes. That's not. The bride starts, then stops. She's looking at David now in a way that requires an answer. He still doesn't give one. The man in the suit touches Maris's elbow. Gentle pressure. "We need to go? Now." "I'm not lying," Maris says. Not to him. To David. "I didn't say you were." David's voice is careful. Too careful. "But I don't. This isn't the place for." "Where is the place?" Maris interrupts. The question hangs. Another man approaches. Older. Authority sits on him differently, like something inherited. "David, we can handle this. Go back to, did you recognize the voice?" Maris asks, still focused on David. The other one. Not hers. The older man stiffens. David's jaw moves like he's testing words before releasing them. "I need to hear it again." "No," the bride says. "You don't." "Sarah, you don't," she repeats. The room has divided without anyone announcing sides. Half the guests are standing now. A few have phones out. Someone near the door is speaking quickly into theirs, one hand cupped over their mouth. Maris holds the phone out toward David. "It's here. You can listen as many times as you want." The man in the suit finally takes her arm properly. Not rough. Firm. That's enough. Is it true? Someone calls from the middle rows. A woman's voice. Not hostile. Genuinely asking. No one answers her. The officiant, forgotten until now, clears his throat. Perhaps we should take a brief. No, Sarah says. She's still looking at David. We're not taking a break. We're continuing. Or we're not. David finally meets her eyes. The silence stretches. I need 10 minutes, he says. For what? To understand what I just heard. Sarah's expression doesn't change. Doesn't harden or soften. Just stays exactly where it was, which somehow feels worse. If you walk away right now, she says quietly, you're choosing that. She doesn't gesture at Maris. Doesn't need to. David looks at the phone again. At Maris. At the guests who are watching like they're deciding what they witnessed. I'm not choosing anything, he says. I'm asking for 10 minutes. You don't get 10 minutes, Sarah says. You get now. The older man steps between them. Everyone needs to calm. I am calm, Sarah cuts in. She turns to the crowd. Her voice lifts, controlled and clear. We're going to continue. Anyone who doesn't want to stay is welcome to leave. No one moves. She looks back at David. Are you staying? Maris watches him try to answer. Watches him fail. The man in the suit is pulling her toward the door now. Not asking anymore. She doesn't fight it. But she keeps her eyes on David until she can't anymore. The last thing she sees before the door closes is Sarah, still standing at the altar, waiting for an answer that hasn't arrived. They put her in a room with gray carpet and no windows. Not a closet. Something adjacent to legitimate. A storage space converted into an office that no one uses. The kind of room that exists in buildings like this, tucked behind the scenes where events happen. The man in the suit doesn't sit. He stands near the door with his hands folded, watching her the way people watch things that might move unexpectedly. Someone will be with you shortly, he says. Maris sits in the only chair. It's too soft. The kind that makes standing up harder than it should be. Who, she asks. Someone. He doesn't elaborate. The door closes behind him. She hears the lock turn. Not loud. Just definite. The room smells like old paper and the specific emptiness of spaces that aren't lived in. She counts the ceiling tiles. Loses track. Starts over. Time moves strangely when no one tells you what's happening. She thinks about leaving the phone on the chair and walking out. Except the door is locked. Except she's already here. Except walking away is exactly what people expect from someone like her. Unreliable, forgettable, easy to dismiss. She stays. Voices pass outside. Muffled. Urgent sounding without urgency reaching through the walls. The lock turns again. The older man from before enters. He doesn't introduce himself. Doesn't sit either, even though there's a second chair folded against the wall. What's your name, he asks. Maris. Maris what? She hesitates. Names feel like paperwork. Just Maris. His expression doesn't shift. Where are you from, Maris? Here. Here meaning? The city. And where do you live? She doesn't answer that one. He waits longer than most people would. Then he moves on. How do you know David? I don't. But you came to his wedding. I came to him. Not the wedding. Why? Because of what I heard. Which was? Maris looks at the phone still in her hand. You heard it. I heard noise, he says. Voices. Could have been anyone. It wasn't anyone. How do you know? Because I know what she sounds like. He leans against the wall. She who? Maris doesn't answer. You're going to need to give me more than that, he says. Not unkind. Just factual. I don't need to give you anything. True, he agrees. You could leave right now. Walk out. Forget this happened. The door's locked. It doesn't have to be. Maris looks at him. You want me to leave. I want to understand what you think you're doing. I already did it. You interrupted a wedding with an unverified recording and no context. That's not doing something. That's starting something. Maybe it needed to start. He exhales through his nose. David is a good man. Do you understand that? He funds shelters. Outreach programs. He spent the last decade trying to. He stops himself. He doesn't deserve this. Not today. Neither did the people in the recording. What people? Maris doesn't answer. The man studies her. You live rough, don't you? I can tell. The way you're sitting. The way you're not asking to leave, even though you clearly want to. She keeps her face still. How long, he asks. That's not your business. It might be. If you need help. Real help. Not whatever you think you're doing here. I'm not asking for help. Then what are you asking for? Nothing, Maris says. I already gave you what I came to give. A recording. No explanation. No proof it's even real. He'll know if it's real. The man pushes off the wall. You can't just, he stops. Starts again. There are processes for this kind of thing. If you have information, if someone did something wrong, there are channels. Legal channels. Like calling the police? If necessary, yes. Maris almost laughs. Doesn't. They don't come for people like me. Not for things like this. Things like what? She doesn't answer. He's losing patience. She can see it in the way his hands move, restless now. I'm trying to help you understand the position you're in. You've made a serious accusation. I didn't accuse anyone. Against someone with resources, connections, a reputation to protect. If you're lying, if this is some kind of, I'm not lying. Then prove it. I did. No, he says. You played 30 seconds of audio that could be anything, anyone, from any time. That's not proof. That's disruption. The door opens again. A woman this time. Younger than the man, but carries herself like age doesn't matter. She glances at Maris, then at him. David wants to talk to her, she says. Absolutely not. I'm not asking your opinion, Richard. Richard. The name lands without ceremony. Sarah's already left. The woman continues. Half the guests are outside arguing about what they heard. This isn't going away because we locked her in a room. It will if we let her leave. And if she's telling the truth? Richard doesn't answer. The woman looks at Maris. Can you prove what's on that recording? I don't know, Maris says. That's honest at least. The woman's expression doesn't warm. David will see you. 5 minutes. That's all you get. Grace, Richard starts. It's already decided. She opens the door wider. Waits. Maris stands. Her legs feel uncertain. She doesn't let it show. Richard moves to block the doorway. If this goes wrong. It already went wrong, Grace says. We're just deciding what kind of wrong it becomes. She gestures for Maris to follow. Richard doesn't move aside. Not fully. Maris has to turn sideways to pass him. In the hallway, the sounds of the building have changed. No music now. Just voices. Scattered. Tense. Grace walks quickly. Maris keeps pace. He's giving you a chance, Grace says without looking back. Don't waste it being cryptic. I'm not trying to be cryptic. Then be clear. Fast. Because 5 minutes is generous, and you've already used one. They turn a corner. Another hallway. Fewer flowers here. Less performance. A door at the end stands half open. Grace stops. He's in there. Alone. Richard will be outside. If you do anything. I won't. Grace studies her. I don't know if you're brave or desperate. Maybe both. Either way, this is your moment. Make it count. She steps aside. Maris walks forward. David is standing by the window when she enters. His jacket is off. His tie loosened. He doesn't turn when the door closes behind her. Show me the phone, he says. Maris hands him the phone. He doesn't take it immediately. Just looks at it in her palm like it might burn him. How long have you had this, he asks. 3 weeks. Maybe 4. You're not sure. Days blend. He takes the phone. Presses play without sitting down. The voices fill the small room differently this time. More intimate. Less performance. Maris watches him listen. His face doesn't give much away. A tightness around his eyes. His jaw shifts once. When it ends, he plays it again. Then a third time. Where exactly did you record this? He asks. I didn't record it. I found it. Someone else was recording. Who? I don't know. But you were in the building. Yes. Where in the building? Maris hesitates. The service corridor. 2nd floor. Near the mechanical room. What were you doing there? The question sits between them. Staying warm, she says finally. His expression shifts. Not pity. Something more complicated. You were sleeping there. It's not a question, so she doesn't answer it. How long? Long enough to know which nights the guards check and which ones they don't. David sets the phone on the desk between them. Tell me what happened. From the beginning. The beginning is a long time ago. Then start somewhere useful. Maris moves to the window. Not close to him. Just away from the door. The view shows the courtyard below. Empty chairs arranged in rows. Flowers wilting at the edges. I heard them 3 weeks ago, she says. Through the vents. I wasn't trying to listen. But the voices were clear. Clearer than they should have been. What did you hear? Laughing first. Then talking. The woman. Her voice was different when she thought no one was listening. Different how? Sharper. Like she didn't have to pretend. David waits. She was talking about the outreach center on Hamilton Street. The one that closed last year. His shoulders tense. Go on. She said the money got redirected. That it was easier than expected. Something about signatures and timing. That's vague. I know. Did she say who redirected it? The man with her said names. I didn't recognize them, but she laughed when he sounded nervous. Like it was funny that he worried. David's hands flattened on the desk. You're telling me you overheard a conversation about embezzlement. I'm telling you what I heard. Through a vent. In a corridor you were sleeping in illegally. Yes. And you decided to record it. I didn't have anything to record with. Not then. But you went back. Maris turns to face him. I spent 2 days trying to forget about it. Trying to convince myself it didn't matter. That it wasn't my problem. What changed? I went to the center. The closed one. I stood outside and looked at the lock on the door. There was a sign. Temporarily closed due to funding issues. Like it was neutral. Like money just disappeared on its own. That doesn't explain the recording. I borrowed a phone. From someone at the shelter on 9th. Told them I needed to make a call. They let me keep it for a day. And you went back to the corridor. I waited for 3 nights. They didn't come back the first 2. On the 3rd night, they did. David picks up the phone again. Doesn't play it. Just holds it. This woman. You recognized her voice? No. Then how do you know who she is? I don't. Not by name. But you brought this to me specifically. You could have gone to the police. The press. Anyone. Maris looks at him steadily. You funded that center. Your name was on the wall. My foundation funded it. Same thing. It's not actually. To the people who needed it, it is. David's jaw tightens. So you decided I was responsible. I decided you should know. By interrupting my wedding. I tried other ways first. That stops him. What? I went to your office building. 3 times. They wouldn't let me pass the lobby. I tried calling. Got transferred until the line disconnected. I waited outside once. Security told me to move. So you came to the wedding. I came to where you'd be. Where people couldn't remove me before you heard it. David sets the phone down again. Carefully. You realize what you've done. Sarah left. The wedding is off. People are, he stops. Everything I've built. The trust, the reputation. You've put that at risk with 30 seconds of audio I can't verify. I know. Do you? I didn't come here to hurt you. No. You came here to be heard. Regardless of the cost. Maris doesn't deny it. David moves to the window. They're standing parallel now. Both looking at the courtyard. The center closing wasn't my decision, he says quietly. The foundation board votes on funding. I recommended renewal. I was outvoted. By who? People I trusted. The silence stretches. If what you're saying is true, David continues, if someone embezzled those funds, then I need more than a recording. I need evidence. Documentation. Something that holds up beyond your word against theirs. I don't have that. Then we have a problem. You have a problem, Maris corrects. I just told you about it. He turns to look at her. Really look. Why do you care? About any of this. You could have stayed invisible. Most people would. I did stay invisible. For a long time. It didn't fix anything. And you think this will? I think someone should know. David's expression doesn't soften, but something in it shifts. What's your last name? Why does that matter? Because if I'm going to look into this, I need to know who I'm dealing with. Maris hesitates. Names feel permanent. Webb. Maris Webb. He says it like he's testing the weight. Where are you staying now? That changes. Tonight. Where will you be tonight? She doesn't answer. That's what I thought. David pulls out his phone. Not hers. His. I'm going to make a call. Get you a room. Somewhere safe. Then I'm going to look into what you've told me. I don't need. Yes, you do. And I need you reachable. Not disappearing into the city before I can verify any of this. You don't believe me. I don't know what I believe. But I'm going to find out. He moves toward the door. What about the woman? Maris asks. On the recording. You recognized her voice. David's hand stops on the door handle. He doesn't turn around. 5 minutes is up, he says. Then he's gone. The hallway feels longer than it did before. David walks past the main event space. The doors are open. Chairs sit empty in their neat rows. Someone's collecting programs from the seats. The movements are efficient, practiced. Like erasing evidence. Richard finds him near the stairwell. Well, he asks. David keeps walking. David. He stops. Doesn't turn around. She's homeless, Richard says. Living in the building illegally. Grace checked. Security has records of removing her twice before. This is exactly what I thought it was. She has a recording. Of voices. That's all. Voices that could be anyone, saying anything. She says it's about the Hamilton Center. Richard goes quiet. You were on that vote, David continues. You recommended we pull funding. The numbers didn't support renewal. You saw the reports. I saw reports. I don't know what I saw. That's not. Richard moves closer, lowers his voice. You can't be serious. You're letting some unstable woman blow up your life based on what? Audio recorded through a wall. She knew about the center specifically. It's public information. The closure was in the news. For one day, most people forgot. She didn't forget because she needed it. That doesn't make her reliable. David finally turns. Did you recognize the voices? Richard's expression doesn't change fast enough. You did, David says. I heard noise. Distortion. That's not what I asked. You're reading into things that aren't there. Am I? Richard glances down the hallway. Empty, but sound carries here. This isn't the conversation we should be having. Not now. Not like this. When then? After you've had time to think clearly. After today isn't. He gestures vaguely at the abandoned wedding space. Today is already ruined. Then don't make it worse. David's phone buzzes. He ignores it. Sarah's not answering, Richard says. Her mother called me. Twice. I didn't know what to tell her. Tell her the truth. Which is what exactly? David doesn't answer. Richard exhales. You need to fix this. Publicly. A statement. Something that explains what happened without validating the disruption. I can't make a statement until I know what happened. You know what happened. A wedding got interrupted by someone with no credibility and no proof. That's the story. Maybe. Richard's voice sharpens. David, listen to me. I've known you for 20 years. I've watched you build something real. Something that matters. Do you understand what you're risking? Tell me. Everything. The foundation's reputation. Your donors. The trust you've spent decades earning. Sarah, your entire life. For what? Asking questions. For entertaining conspiracy over fact. For choosing doubt over loyalty. The phone buzzes again. This time David looks. Sarah's name on the screen. He stares at it until it stops. You should call her back, Richard says. And say what? That you made a mistake. That you're fixing it. By doing what? Pretending I didn't hear what I heard. By recognizing that you heard something ambiguous from an unreliable source during an emotionally charged moment. By choosing the people who've actually been there for you. David pockets the phone. Where's Grace? Handling the guests. Explaining that there was a misunderstanding. Is that what we're calling it? It's what it needs to be. Someone appears at the end of the hallway. A woman in catering uniform. She freezes when she sees them, then turns and walks quickly in the other direction. Richard waits until she's gone. People are watching. They're deciding what they believe. Right now, you have a choice. You can be the victim of a disruption, or you can be complicit in validating it. Those aren't the only options. They are to everyone watching. David's phone buzzes a third time. Not Sarah this time. His assistant. Then Grace. Then a number he doesn't recognize. He silences it completely. I put her in a hotel, he says. The girl. Maris. I can't have her disappearing before I understand what's on that recording. Richard stares at him. You did what? She has nowhere to go. That's not your problem. She made it my problem. By disrupting your wedding. By making accusations she can't prove. And your response is to reward that. I'm keeping her accessible. There's a difference. Not to anyone who finds out. Richard moves closer. If people know you're housing her, paying for her, they'll assume guilt. They'll assume she has something real. Is that what you want? I want to know the truth. The truth is you're being manipulated by someone who has nothing to lose and everything to gain from chaos. David doesn't respond. Richard's voice drops. I'm trying to protect you. From yourself, if necessary. But I can't do that if you won't meet me halfway. What's halfway look like? Let her go. Tonight. No hotel. No contact. Let this fade. And if she's right, then we deal with it through proper channels. Quietly. Without turning your life into collateral damage. David looks past him toward the empty event space. Flowers arranged around an altar no one's standing at. Did you listen to the recording? David asks. Parts of it. Did you recognize the voice? Richard's pause lasts too long. That's what I thought, David says. He walks past Richard toward the stairs. Where are you going? Richard calls after him. Home. You need to talk to Sarah first. I know, David, but he's already gone. Richard stands in the empty hallway for a long time after. His phone rings. He answers without checking who it is. It's contained, he says. Then he listens. His expression doesn't change. I understand. Yes, I'll handle it. He ends the call. Down the hall, Grace appears. She's holding a folder. Her face is carefully neutral. We need to talk, she says. Not now. Now. She doesn't wait for permission. Just opens the folder and shows him what's inside. Richard looks at the papers, then at her. Where did you get this? Does it matter? He closes the folder. Yes. Someone sent it. Anonymously. To the foundation office. This morning. Before the wedding. Before the wedding. Richard's jaw tightens. Does David know? Not yet. Keep it that way. Richard. I said keep it that way. Grace doesn't argue. But she doesn't agree either. She just stands there, holding the folder between them like evidence neither of them wants to claim. How bad is it? Richard asks finally. Bad enough. He nods slowly. Then we have work to do. The hotel room has clean sheets and a lock that works. Maris sits on the edge of the bed without lying down. The walls are beige. The carpet darker beige. Everything neutral in a way that feels temporary. She hasn't been in a room like this in over a year. The key card sits on the nightstand. Plastic. Impersonal. She keeps looking at it like it might vanish. Someone knocked twice since she arrived. Room service, she didn't order. She didn't answer. The knocking stopped. Her phone, the borrowed one, is dead. She doesn't have a charger. Doesn't know where to get one without money. The recording is still on it, locked behind a black screen. She thinks about leaving, walking out while the door still opens for her. Instead, she turns on the television, flips through channels without watching, stops on news. A weather report. Something about traffic. Nothing about weddings or recordings or buildings where people sleep in corridors. The knock comes again at 9. Different this time. Sharper. Maris. Grace's voice through the door. I know you're in there. Maris doesn't move. I'm not here to remove you. I need to show you something. The silence stretches. You have 30 seconds, Grace says. Then I'm coming in anyway. I have a key. Maris opens the door. Grace stands in the hallway holding a folder. Her expression is harder than it was earlier. More certain. Can I come in? Maris steps aside. Grace enters, closes the door behind her. She doesn't sit, just sets the folder on the desk and opens it. This arrived at the foundation office this morning, she says. Before the wedding. Inside are papers. Financial documents. Signatures. Dates highlighted in yellow. Maris moves closer. The words blur together. Numbers she doesn't understand arranged in columns. What is this? Proof, Grace says. Of what you heard. Maris looks up. How did you? I didn't. Someone sent it. No return address. No explanation. Who? That's the question, isn't it? Grace flips through several pages. Stops on one with 3 signatures at the bottom. Hamilton Center Funding Reallocation Request. Submitted by the Foundation Board. Approved by Executive Committee. Dated 6 weeks before the center closed. I don't understand what I'm looking at. These signatures authorized moving funds from operational support to administrative overhead. Except there's another document. Grace pulls out a second sheet. Same signatures. Different destination. Money that was supposed to go to overhead went somewhere else entirely. Where? A consulting firm. Meridian Solutions, LLC. Ever heard of it? Maris shakes her head. Neither had I. So I looked it up. Registered 3 months before the Hamilton Center vote. Dissolved 2 weeks after the funds transferred. The LLC was owned by a single person. She turns the paper so Maris can see the name. Maris reads it twice. I don't know who that is. You wouldn't. But David does. Grace pulls out her phone. Shows Maris a photo. A woman at an event. Professional clothes. Confident posture. Standing next to Richard. That's his deputy director, Grace says. Victoria Chun. She's been with the foundation for 8 years. David trusts her completely. Maris looks at the papers again. This proves she stole the money. It proves she redirected funds through a shell company, yes. What it doesn't prove is whether she acted alone. The statement hangs between them. You think someone helped her, Maris says. I think these documents were sent to me for a reason. And I think whoever sent them knows more than what's in this folder. Did you show David? Not yet. Why not? Grace's expression shifts. Because I don't know who else is involved. Richard was on that board vote. He recommended pulling funding. And when I showed him these papers earlier, his first response wasn't shock. It was damage control. Maris sits slowly on the bed. You think he knew? I think he reacted like someone protecting something. Whether that's the foundation, himself, or someone else, I can't tell yet. So what do we do? Grace closes the folder. I'm going to verify these documents. Confirm the shell company. Trace the money. That'll take time. And me? You stay here. Stay quiet. Don't talk to anyone. What about David? He's already looking into it. Once I can confirm what's in this folder, I'll show him. Until then, you don't trust him either. Grace meets her eyes. I don't trust anyone right now, including you. I didn't send those papers. I know. You barely understand what they mean. Grace moves toward the door. But someone wanted this exposed. Someone with access to internal documents. Someone who knew about your recording and timed this perfectly. Perfectly for what? Maximum damage. Grace pauses at the door. Whoever sent this isn't trying to help David. They're trying to destroy the foundation. And they're using you to do it. David's apartment is dark when he arrives. He doesn't turn on lights. Just drops his jacket on the chair and stands in the kitchen staring at nothing. His phone is full of messages he hasn't read. Voicemails he hasn't listened to. Sarah's name appears 14 times. He pours water into a glass. Drinks half. Pours the rest in the sink. The recording plays in his head without permission. The woman's voice. The laugh. The casual way she discussed numbers that represented people's lives. He knows that voice. He's known it for 3 years. Victoria hired him coffee every Tuesday. Remembered his assistant's birthday. Stayed late reviewing grant proposals without being asked. She was efficient, thorough, loyal. He trusted her the way people trust someone who makes their life easier. His phone rings. Not Sarah this time. Richard. He lets it go to voicemail. Then Grace calls. He answers. Where are you? She asks. Home. Stay there. I'm coming over. Grace. Don't argue. And don't call anyone until I get there. She hangs up. David sets the phone down. Looks around the apartment. Furniture he picked. Art Sarah helped choose. A life assembled piece by piece over years of careful decisions. All of it suddenly feels like something that belongs to someone else. The knock comes 20 minutes later. Grace doesn't wait for invitation. She enters, drops the folder on his coffee table. Read, she says. David opens it. His hands are steady through the first page. Less steady on the second. By the third, he sits down. When did you get this? This morning. Before everything. He flips back to the signature page. Stares at Victoria's name. This can't be right. The company's real. The transfers match. The timeline fits. But Victoria embezzled nearly $2 million from the Hamilton Center Fund. Yes. David closes the folder. Opens it again. Like the contents might change. Who else knows? Me. You. Richard saw it earlier. What did he say? Grace doesn't answer immediately. Grace. He told me to keep it from you. Said we needed to handle it quietly. David's jaw tightens. He knew. I don't know what he knew. But he's protecting something. Where's Victoria now? I don't know. She wasn't at the wedding. I've called her 3 times. No answer. David stands. Paces to the window. The city spreads out below, lights organizing chaos into grid patterns. The girl was right, he says quietly. The girl got lucky. Or someone fed her information. She was sleeping in my building. Which means someone knew where to find her. Where to leave evidence she'd overhear. David turns. You think this was planned? I think the timing is too perfect. Wedding day? Public setting. Anonymous documents arriving the same morning. This isn't exposure. It's execution. Of who? Victoria. Of the foundation. Of you. Grace moves closer. Someone wants this burned down. They're using legitimate corruption to do it. But that doesn't make their motives clean. So what do? We verify everything first. Independently. Then we decide who to trust with it. I should call the board. Half the board signed those authorization forms. Until we know who was complicit and who was deceived, we don't tell anyone. David looks at the folder again. Sarah needs to know. Sarah left you at the altar 6 hours ago. Maybe start with sorry before you add. Also, I uncovered massive embezzlement. He almost laughs. Doesn't. Grace's phone buzzes. She checks it. Her expression changes. What? Richard just sent out an email. To the entire foundation staff. She turns the phone so David can see. The subject line reads, Internal Review Announcement, Confidential. The message is brief. Clinical. It announces a voluntary administrative review of recent funding decisions. Effective immediately. No specific details. Just reassurance that the foundation remains committed to transparency and accountability. He's getting ahead of it, Grace says. Or covering it up. Maybe both. David's phone starts ringing again. Multiple calls now. Board members. Donors. People who received Richard's email and want clarification. He silences it completely. I need to talk to Maris again, he says. Why? Because someone used her. And I need to know if she understands that. Grace doesn't argue. I'll drive. Maris is still dressed when they arrive. She opens the door before Grace can knock. Like she's been waiting. We need to talk, David says. She steps aside without speaking. The hotel room feels smaller with 3 people. Grace stands near the window. David sits in the desk chair. Maris stays by the door. Did someone tell you to record that conversation? David asks. No. Did anyone give you the phone? I borrowed it. From who? Someone at the shelter. Which shelter? 9th Street. The one with the blue door. Grace makes a note on her phone. Did anyone approach you before today? David continues. Ask you questions about the building? About the foundation? No. Are you sure? I'm sure. David leans forward. Because someone sent documents to Grace this morning. Financial records that prove what you heard on that recording. And the timing feels deliberate. Maris looks at Grace. You think I'm working with someone. I think you might be without knowing it, Grace says. I'm not. Then explain how anonymous documents arrived the same day you interrupted a wedding. I can't. Can't or won't. Can't. I don't know anything about documents. David stands. Paces. Someone wanted this exposed publicly. They chose you because you're credible as a victim, but not credible enough to be believed immediately. That creates chaos. Forces people to choose sides before facts settle. I didn't choose to be chosen. No. But you were convenient. Maris's expression hardens. I heard something wrong. I reported it. That's all. That's never all, Grace says. Not with this kind of money involved. I don't care about the money. Then what do you care about? Maris doesn't answer immediately. The center closed. People needed it. No one explained why. I thought someone should know. So you made it David's problem. I made it his information. He chose what to do with it. David stops pacing. The woman on the recording. Victoria Chun. She's missing. Maris goes still. We've called her 12 times, Grace adds. Her apartment is empty. Her car's gone. She cleared out sometime between yesterday evening and this morning. Before the wedding, Maris says. Yes. So she knew. She knew something was coming. Whether she knew about you specifically, we can't confirm. David's phone buzzes. He checks it. His face changes. What? Grace asks. He shows her the screen. Grace reads. Her expression hardens. When did this go live? 4 minutes ago. She looks at Maris. Someone just posted the recording online. Full audio. With your name attached and a caption calling you a whistleblower. The room goes quiet. I didn't post anything, Maris says. I know. But someone did. And now it's everywhere. David scrolls through his phone. Twitter. Reddit. 3 news aggregators already picked it up. Comments are, he stops reading. How did they get the recording? Maris asks. I have the phone. Grace moves to the desk. Opens her laptop. Types rapidly. They must have copied it. When? At the wedding. No one touched my phone except David. Are you sure? Maris thinks back. The room with gray carpet. Richard. The man in the suit. Security took it from me. For maybe 3 minutes. Before they put me in the room. 3 minutes is enough? Grace says. David's phone rings. He looks at the screen. Doesn't answer. It rings again immediately. Different number. Then Grace's phone starts. The foundation switchboard is getting flooded, she says, reading a text. Staff are asking what to say. Richard's not answering. Where is Richard? David asks. I don't know. David tries calling him. Voicemail. He tries Victoria. Same. We need to make a statement, Grace says. Now? Before this controls the narrative. Saying what? The truth. That we're investigating. That we take the allegations seriously. That validates. It's already validated. The recording is public. Your wedding is public. Fighting it now makes you look complicit. David moves to the window. Outside, the city continues. Cars. Lights. People who don't know his life is collapsing in real time. His phone rings again. Sarah this time. He answers. I'm seeing things online, she says. No greeting. About the wedding. About you. Is it true? Some of it. Which part? The recording is real. The woman, Victoria, she embezzled from the foundation. Sarah's breath catches. You knew this before today? No. I found out after you left. But you suspected. I needed to verify. You chose verification over me. I chose not to make a decision without information. Same thing, David. The line goes quiet except for ambient sound. Traffic on her end. She's outside somewhere. Where are you, he asks. Does it matter? Yes. My mother's. I'm not coming back tonight. Sarah, I watched you listen to that recording. I watched you choose to believe a stranger over standing beside me. That's not something I can unsee. I wasn't choosing. You were. You just don't want to admit it. Her voice cracked slightly. I defended you. To everyone. After she disrupted everything, I stood there and told people it was a misunderstanding. And you made me a liar. I'm sorry. For which part? The wedding? The investigation? Putting me in a position where I have to read about my own wedding online. David doesn't have an answer that helps. I need time, Sarah says finally. Don't call me. Don't text. I'll reach out when I'm ready. How much time? I don't know. Maybe a lot. She hangs up. David lowers the phone slowly. Grace is watching him. I'm sorry. He doesn't respond. Maris has moved closer to the window. She's looking down at the street. There are people outside. Grace joins her. Reporters. 3 vans parked across the street. People with cameras. Someone pointing up at the building. How did they find this location? David asks. The Post, Grace says. It included the hotel name. Said you were housing the whistleblower. Paying her to stay quiet. That's not. I know. But that's the story now. David's phone explodes with notifications. Texts. Calls. Emails. His assistant. Board members. His lawyer. Names he doesn't recognize demanding comment. Grace's laptop chimes. The foundation website just crashed. Too much traffic. What are people looking for? Everything. Board documents. Tax filings. Victoria's bio page. Can we take it offline? Too late. Archive sites already captured it. Reddit's pulling screenshots. Another notification. This time a news alert. Breaking. Philanthropist David Marsden's wedding disrupted by embezzlement allegations. The article loads slowly. Photos from the wedding. Someone took pictures. Maris in the aisle. David's face when he listened to the recording. Speculation presented as fact. They're calling me David Marsden now, he says quietly. Not David Chin Marsden. They removed Sarah. Grace closes her laptop. This is moving too fast. We need to get ahead of it. How? Press conference. Tomorrow morning. You, me, legal. We present the documents. Announce an independent investigation. Control what we can control. Richard should be there. Richard is compromised until we know what he knew. He's been with me for 20 years. Which makes it worse if he was involved. David's phone rings again. Unknown number. He answers without thinking. Mr. Marsden? A woman's voice. Professional. Unfamiliar. This is Rebecca Kim from Channel 7. I'm outside the Meridian Hotel. Can you confirm you're housing the woman who disrupted your wedding? He hangs up. The phone rings immediately. Different number. Same request. He turns it off completely. Grace does the same with hers. They both look at Maris. You should turn yours off too, Grace says. It's already dead. Then keep it that way. A knock at the door. Sharp. Official. Grace opens it. 2 police officers stand in the hallway. We're looking for Maris Webb, one says. Everyone goes still. Why? Grace asks. We have questions about a trespassing complaint. Building manager reported unauthorized access to the Commerce Tower. When was this complaint filed? David asks. This afternoon. Around 3 p.m. After the wedding. After the recording went public. She's not trespassing here, Grace says. This room is paid for. We understand that, ma'am. We still need to speak with her. Maris moves toward the door. Wait, David says. You don't have to go with them. It's fine. It's not. This is retaliation. Someone's trying to. I was trespassing, Maris says simply. They're not wrong. That doesn't mean. I'll be fine. She walks into the hallway. The officers don't cuff her. Just position themselves on either side. We'll follow you to the station, Grace tells Maris. Get a lawyer there. The officer shakes his head. No visitors until she's processed. How long will that take? Depends on the night. They walk Maris toward the elevator. She doesn't look back. The doors close. David and Grace stand in the empty hallway. This is coordinated, Grace says. The Post. The reporters. The police. Someone's orchestrating this. Victoria. Or whoever Victoria was working with. David's phone vibrates in his pocket. Even powered off, it feels insistent. Below them, through the walls, they can hear voices. People talking fast. Car doors closing. Engine starting. The story is moving now. Beyond their control. Beyond correction. And somewhere in the city, Someone is watching it all unfold exactly as planned. The police station smells like industrial cleaner and old coffee. Maris sits in a room with plastic chairs bolted to the floor. A woman in uniform took her information. Name, date of birth, address. She didn't have one to give. Current residence, the woman said again. I don't have one. The woman wrote something down. Didn't look up. They photographed her. Fingerprints next. The ink doesn't wash off completely. Black smudges remain on her fingertips. Someone will process you shortly, the woman said. That was 40 minutes ago. Maris sits with her hands folded. The room has no windows. Just fluorescent lights that hum at a frequency that makes her jaw ache. A man enters eventually. Different uniform. He carries a folder, but doesn't open it. Maris Webb, he says. Not a question. She nods. You've been charged with criminal trespass. Second floor service corridor of Commerce Tower. Building management has security footage showing you entering restricted areas on multiple occasions between November and January. I know. You're admitting to it? Yes. He seems surprised. You understand this is a misdemeanor. Potentially jail time. Yes. Do you want a lawyer? I don't have money for a lawyer. Public defender can be assigned. Okay. He writes something. You'll be held overnight. Arraignment tomorrow morning. Judge will set bail or release conditions. What happens if I can't pay bail? You stay until trial. Maris looks at the table. At her stained fingers. The recording, she says. The one I made. Is that part of this? Not my case. But someone's asking about it. The man doesn't answer. Just stands. Someone will move you to holding in about an hour. He leaves. The door locks behind him. David's apartment fills with people who weren't invited. His lawyer arrives first. Marcus Reed. Expensive suit. Calm voice. He sets up at the dining table like it's a conference room. We need to draft a statement, Marcus says. Something brief. Factual. Doesn't admit liability. I'm not liable for anything. That's not how it'll read. Your foundation. Your employee. Your wedding. Everything connects to you. Grace arrives next. She's changed clothes. Looks tired in a way makeup doesn't hide. Maris is being held overnight, she says. Arraignment tomorrow at 9. Did they charge her? Trespassing. It's weak, but it keeps her contained. Away from reporters, David says. Away from us, Grace corrects. His assistant calls. David doesn't answer. She texts instead. Board wants emergency meeting. Tonight. He shows Grace. Stall them, she says. How? Tell them you're consulting with legal. Need 24 hours to prepare remarks. Marcus looks up from his laptop. Don't tell them anything. Board members leak. This stays between us until we control the narrative. What narrative? David asks. The truth is already out there. Part of the truth. Fragments. We present the full picture or we let everyone else assemble it wrong. Another text. This time from a board member directly. Richard is calling an emergency vote. Tomorrow. 10 a.m. You need to be there. David forwards it to Grace. Vote on what? She asks. My removal, probably. Marcus stops typing. Can they do that? If they have cause. Mismanagement. Breach of fiduciary duty. They can make an argument. You didn't mismanage anything. I hired Victoria. I trusted her. That's enough. Grace sits at the table. We release the documents first. Show you uncovered the fraud. Position you as the one who exposed it. Using information from someone I met 6 hours ago. Better than looking complicit. Is it? No one answers. David's phone lights up again. Sarah's mother this time. He watches it ring until it stops. You need to call her back, Grace says. And say what? Something. Anything. Silence reads as guilt. Maybe I am guilty. Of what? Not seeing it sooner. Not asking harder questions. Marcus closes his laptop. Guilt is internal. Liability is external. Right now we focus on the second one. A news alert flashes across David's phone. Foundation director missing after embezzlement allegations. The article includes Victoria's photo. Professional headshot from the website. It describes her as fleeing authorities, though no charges have been filed yet. Quotes anonymous sources claiming she embezzled upwards of $3 million. The actual number was lower. Facts don't seem to matter. They're inflating it, Grace says, reading over his shoulder. Makes a better story. Another alert. Wedding whistleblower arrested on trespassing charges. This article includes Maris's booking photo. She looks smaller in it. Younger. The caption calls her arrest suspicious timing. Comments load beneath the article. Classic intimidation tactics. Of course they arrested her. Poor girl just tried to do the right thing. She knew what she was doing. This was planned. Follow the money. The opinions split evenly between conspiracy and skepticism. No middle ground. No uncertainty. People have already decided what happened, David says. Then we give them a better story, Marcus replies. I don't have a better story. I have what happened. Then we shape what happened into something people can understand. David looks at him. You mean lie. I mean contextualize. Frame. Present the facts in an order that makes sense. The order they happened in makes sense. Not to people watching from outside. Grace's phone rings. She steps into the other room to answer. Marcus leans forward. David, I need you to understand something. This isn't about truth anymore. It's about perception. And right now, perception is killing you. The wedding disruption. The viral recording. The missing employee. The arrested whistleblower. Each piece feeds a narrative where you're either incompetent or complicit. I'm neither. I know. But that doesn't matter if the foundation collapses before anyone believes it. Grace returns. Her expression is different. Tighter. What? David asks. Richard just resigned. Effective immediately. Sent a letter to the board. Didn't give a reason. The room goes quiet. When? Marcus asks. 20 minutes ago. Did he say anything else? No. Just resignation. No explanation. No forwarding contact. David stands. Paces to the window. The city looks the same as it did 6 hours ago. Before the wedding. Before everything accelerated into something uncontrollable. He knew. David says quietly. Maybe. Grace replies. Or he's protecting himself from association. Same thing. Not legally. Marcus starts typing again. This actually helps us. Shows you're cleaning house. Taking action. I didn't ask him to resign. Doesn't matter. It reads like accountability. David's reflection stares back from the dark window. He barely recognizes it. What about Maris? He asks. What about her? Marcus says. She's sitting in a cell because she told the truth. She's sitting in a cell because she trespassed. Repeatedly. That's not our responsibility. I put her in that hotel. I made her visible. You gave her shelter. That was generous. What happened after isn't on you. David turns from the window. Get her out. David, I don't care what it costs. Bail, lawyer, whatever she needs. Get her out. Marcus and Grace exchange glances. That's going to look like, Marcus starts. I don't care how it looks. You should. She disrupted my wedding to expose fraud in my foundation. She was right. The least I can do is make sure she doesn't pay for it alone. Grace's phone buzzes. She checks it. Media request for comment. From the Times. Ignore it, Marcus says. They're asking about your relationship with Maris. If you were involved before the wedding. David closes his eyes. We weren't. I know. But someone's suggesting it. Who? Anonymous source close to the foundation. Richard, Grace says. We don't know that. Who else would benefit from making David look personally compromised? Marcus stands. I need to draft something. Now. Before this gets worse. How could it get worse? David asks. No one answers that either. Maris is moved to a holding cell at midnight. 3 other women are already there. They don't speak to her. She doesn't speak to them. The lights stay on. Bright. Constant. She sits on the concrete bench and stares at the wall. Someone is crying in another cell. Quiet. Rhythmic. The sound carries through the walls like the voices in the corridor did. A guard passes. Checks each cell without stopping. Maris closes her eyes. She thinks about the hotel room. The clean sheets. The lock that worked. She thinks about David's face when he listened to the recording. The way he chose to hear it instead of dismissing it. She thinks about tomorrow. Arraignment. Bill she can't pay. A system designed around resources she doesn't have. The woman next to her shifts. Wraps her arms tighter around herself. Maris understands that feeling. The way cold becomes something you carry internally. Hours pass without marking time. Eventually, exhaustion wins. She leans against the wall and lets her eyes close. Sleep doesn't come. Just the kind of waiting that feels close enough. The arraignment happens in a courtroom that smells like floor wax and recycled air. Maris sits in the front row with 12 other people. All wearing the same tired expressions. All waiting for their names. A public defender speaks to her for 3 minutes beforehand. Young. Overworked. He doesn't ask about the recording. Plead not guilty, he says. Judge will set bail. Probably 500. Maybe less since it's your first offense. I don't have 500. Do you have anyone who can post it? She doesn't answer. He makes a note. Then you'll stay until trial. Probably 3 weeks. Maybe 4. What if I plead guilty? Time served. Maybe community service. You'd be out today. Maris looks at the courtroom. At the judge who hasn't arrived yet. At the people waiting who look like they've been waiting a long time. I'll think about it, she says. The defender moves to the next person. When her name is called, she stands. The charges are read. Criminal trespass. November through January. Commerce Tower. How do you plead? The judge asks. Maris opens her mouth. Your Honor. A voice from the back. Everyone turns. A man in a gray suit approaches the bench. Marcus Reed, appearing on behalf of Miss Webb. The public defender looks confused. I'm all ready. Your services are no longer required. Thank you. The judge looks at Maris. Is this your attorney? She doesn't know how to answer. Yes, Your Honor, Marcus says. We'll be entering a not guilty plea, and I'd like to address bail. The prosecutor stands. Young, bored-looking. People request $500 bail. Defendant has no permanent address. Flight risk. My client isn't a flight risk, Marcus says. She cooperated fully with authorities. She has community ties, and she's prepared to comply with any conditions. She's homeless, the prosecutor says. No ties, no employment, literally nowhere to go. That's not accurate. She has housing arrangements. Stable. Verified. The judge looks between them. Where? Marcus doesn't hesitate. She'll be staying at a residence arranged by Mr. David Marsden. He's prepared to serve as a third-party custodian. The courtroom goes quiet. The prosecutor's expression changes. The David Marsden? From the wedding. My client's housing situation is irrelevant to these charges, Marcus says. What matters is she has a place to stay. She's not going anywhere. The judge types something. This is the same David Marsden whose foundation is under investigation. There's no investigation. There are allegations. Unproven. And they have nothing to do with this case. They have everything to do with credibility. Miss Webb's credibility isn't on trial here. Her housing situation is being addressed. That's all that's relevant. The prosecutor leans forward. Your Honor, this arrangement is highly irregular. Mr. Marsden has a clear interest in controlling the defendant's testimony. She hasn't been called to testify anywhere. Not yet. The judge holds up a hand. Bail is set at $250. Defendant will report weekly to a probation officer. No contact with Commerce Tower or its representatives. Trial date set for March 15th. She bangs the gavel. Next case. Marcus guides Maris out of the courtroom before the prosecutor can object further. In the hallway, Maris stops walking. I didn't agree to this. You want to spend 3 weeks in jail? I want to know what I'm agreeing to. You're agreeing to temporary housing while your case is resolved. That's all. Nothing's that simple. You're right. It's not. But right now your options are limited. David wants to help. Let him. Why? Marcus looks at her. Because he feels responsible. Because you were right. Because the alternative is you disappearing back into whatever instability you came from. Take your pick. Where is he? Waiting outside. David is leaning against a car when they exit the building. He straightens when he sees Maris. Doesn't smile. Just nods slightly. You didn't have to do this, she says. I know. I would have managed. I know that too. They stand in the cold. People pass around them. No one looks twice. Where am I supposed to stay? Maris asks. There's a place. Near the foundation office. Small. Furnished. It's temporary. How temporary? As long as you need it. That's not an answer. David exhales. I don't have better answers right now, but I have this. It's yours if you want it. Maris looks at Marcus. At David. At the courthouse behind her. What do you want in return? She asks. Nothing. People don't help for nothing. Some people do. Not people like you. David's expression shifts. People like me? People with money. Power. People who don't need anything from anyone. You think I don't need anything? Maris doesn't answer. My wedding ended yesterday, David says quietly. My foundation is collapsing. My staff is resigning. I have reporters outside my building and a board meeting in 2 hours where they'll probably vote me out. I need a lot of things. Help from you isn't one of them. Then why? Because you did something right. And watching you pay for it alone doesn't sit well with me. A car horn sounds somewhere. David doesn't look away. Maris finally nods. Once. Okay. The apartment is on the 4th floor of a building that's seen better decades. Maris stands in the doorway while David unlocks it. The space is small. One room plus a bathroom. A bed against one wall. A table near the window. Everything functional. Nothing decorative. It's not much, David says. It's enough. He sets 2 keys on the table. One for the apartment. One for the building entrance. Heat works. Water's included. There's a laundromat 2 blocks down. Maris steps inside. The floor creaks under her weight. How long can I stay? She asks. The lease is month to month. Paid through April. And after April? We'll figure it out. She turns to face him. You can't keep paying for me. Why not? Because eventually you'll want something back. I won't. Everyone does. David leans against the doorframe. Has it occurred to you that maybe I'm just trying to do something that doesn't collapse? What does that mean? Everything else is falling apart. The foundation. My relationships. My reputation. This is one thing I can actually fix. Let me have that. Maris sits on the bed. Tests the mattress. It's firm. Better than floors. Your board meeting, she says. What will they decide? I don't know yet. Will they remove you? Maybe. Because of me. Because of Victoria. Because of decisions I didn't catch. You just made it public. I'm sorry. David shakes his head. Don't be. If you hadn't, this would have continued. More money disappearing. More programs closing. You stopped it. I ruined your wedding. My wedding was built on things I didn't know. Maybe it needed to stop too. Maris doesn't respond to that. David checks his phone. I need to go. Grace is waiting. The board meeting. I know. He hesitates at the door. There's food in the cabinet. Basic things. And my number's on the counter. If you need anything. I won't. But if you do. He leaves before she can argue. The door closes. The lock turns from outside. Maris sits in the quiet. Looks around at walls that aren't hers. At furniture someone else chose. At a space that feels borrowed in ways that make her uncomfortable. She stands. Opens the cabinet. Canned soup. Crackers. Tea bags. Things that don't expire quickly. The window looks out at other buildings. Fire escapes. Laundry hanging between floors. Life organized in small repeated patterns. She thinks about the hotel. About the cell. About the corridor where she slept for months. This is different. Better. It should feel like progress. Instead, it feels like debt accumulating in forms she can't measure yet. The board meeting starts without him. David arrives 12 minutes late. The conference room is full. Faces he's known for years. Some look sympathetic. Most don't. Richard's chair is empty. Grace sits at the far end. She doesn't look at him when he enters. Thomas Vance, the board chair, stands. David, thank you for joining us. I was handling something. We've started without you. Given the circumstances, we felt it was appropriate. David sits in his usual chair. What circumstances? The ones currently dominating every news outlet. The ones threatening the foundation's reputation. The ones that began at your wedding. The wedding was interrupted because someone discovered fraud. That's not my fault. Your employee committed fraud, another board member says. Patricia something. David can't remember her last name. Under your supervision. I didn't know about it. That's the problem. Thomas raises his hand. Let's stay focused. We've called this meeting to discuss next steps. The foundation is facing unprecedented scrutiny. Donors are pulling commitments. Staff morale is collapsing. We need leadership that can stabilize this. I'm stabilizing it. Grace and I are preparing a full disclosure. Independent investigation. Complete transparency. That's exactly what we want to avoid, Patricia says. David looks at her. Avoiding transparency? Avoiding the appearance of guilt. Every disclosure reads as admission. Every investigation suggests deeper problems. There are deeper problems. Victoria embezzled money. Others may have been involved. We need to find out who and how. Thomas sighs. David, we appreciate your idealism. But the practical reality is this foundation can't survive a prolonged scandal. We need to contain it. Move past it. That requires different leadership. The room goes quiet. You're removing me, David says. We're asking you to step back. Temporarily. While we conduct an internal review. How temporary? No one answers. Grace finally speaks. This is a mistake. Grace, you're not a board member, Thomas says. You don't have a vote. I have eyes. You're scapegoating him to save yourselves. We're protecting the foundation. By sacrificing the person who exposed the fraud? That's not protection. That's cowardice. Patricia's voice sharpens. We don't need lectures on courage from staff. Then where will you get them? Grace stands. Because everyone in this room signed off on Hamilton Center funding decisions. Everyone reviewed those financial reports. If David missed it, you all missed it. The only difference is he's willing to admit it. Thomas's expression hardens. The vote has already been taken. David is suspended pending review. Effective immediately. David doesn't move. Who's taking over? Barbara Chun. She's agreed to serve as interim director. Barbara hasn't worked here in 3 years. She's qualified. She's clean. She's what we need right now. David looks around the table. At faces that won't meet his eyes. At Grace, who's shaking with controlled anger. At the empty chair where Richard used to sit. This won't fix anything, he says quietly. It's already decided, Thomas replies. David stands. Doesn't argue. Arguments don't work when votes are already counted. He walks to the door. Grace follows. Behind them, the board continues. Planning. Containing. Protecting everything except truth. In the hallway, Grace stops him. We can fight this. With what? Facts. The documents. Public pressure. They don't care about facts. They care about survival. So do you? David looks at her. Do I? She doesn't answer. He walks toward the elevator. Presses the button. Waits. What now? Grace asks. I don't know. That's not like you. Nothing about this is like me. The elevator arrives. They step inside. As the doors close, David sees Thomas through the conference room windows. Already on the phone. Already managing. Already moving past him like he was temporary all along. March arrives cold and wet. David's trial date comes and goes. The foundation settles quietly. Maris pleads guilty to reduced charges. Time served. 40 hours of community service. The judge lectures her about respecting private property. She nods at appropriate moments. Marcus doesn't charge her for his work. She doesn't ask why. The apartment lease gets extended. Another month. No explanation. David never asks about it. She never thanks him. They don't speak. Grace's investigation goes nowhere official. She sends the Kellerman evidence to 3 journalists. One responds with interest but can't get editorial approval. Too complicated. Too much time elapsed. The foundation released a statement about implementing new oversight measures. Story's over. She sends it to 2 lawyers specializing in nonprofit fraud. Both say the same thing. Hard to prosecute without Victoria's testimony. Without cooperation from the foundation itself. Without someone willing to fund litigation against an organization that just settled with its own victims. The evidence sits in a folder on her desk. Accurate. Useless. Barbara offers her a promotion. Director of Operations. More money. More responsibility. Grace stares at the offer letter for 3 days. She accepts on a Thursday. Maris finds work at a grocery store on 5th Street. Night shifts. Stocking shelves. Cleaning up after closing. The manager doesn't ask about gaps in her employment history. Pays cash every Friday. It's enough for food. Not enough for rent if the apartment situation changes. She doesn't let herself think about that. The probation meetings continue weekly. The officer remembers her name now. Asks how the job is going. She tells him fine. He seems satisfied. She hasn't seen Victoria again. Some nights, she walks past the laundromat anyway, just to see if the woman reappears. She never does. Maris wonders if Victoria left the city, or if she's better at disappearing than Maris is at looking. The recording is still on the dead phone in her drawer. She hasn't tried to charge it. Doesn't want to know if the file survived or corrupted. Evidence matters until it doesn't. David sees Sarah on accident. Coffee shop near his apartment. She's at a table by the window with someone he doesn't recognize. A man. They're laughing about something. David stands at the counter holding his order. Doesn't approach. Doesn't leave. Sarah sees him eventually. The laughter stops. Her expression goes neutral. The man follows her gaze. Says something. Sarah shakes her head. David raises his coffee slightly. Not a wave. Just acknowledgement. Sarah nods once. He leaves before the moment requires more. Outside, he walks 3 blocks before realizing he's going the wrong direction. He doesn't correct course. Just keeps walking until the coffee goes cold in his hand. The foundation hosts a gala in April. Rebuilding trust, a new chapter. Grace attends because her job requires it. David receives an invitation but doesn't respond. Barbara gives a speech about accountability and moving forward. About learning from mistakes without dwelling on them. About the importance of protecting the mission. The donors applaud. Richard appears in the crowd. Briefly, he speaks with Barbara near the bar. Their conversation looks cordial. Professional. He leaves before dessert. Grace watches from across the room, wonders what they discussed, knows she'll never find out. The money raised that night exceeds projections. Everyone calls it a success. David's apartment lease ends in May. He doesn't renew, doesn't know where he's going instead, just knows he can't stay in a space designed for a life that doesn't exist anymore. He packs slowly, finds things he forgot he had. A tie Sarah bought him, a photo from the foundation's 10th anniversary, a thank you card from someone whose name he doesn't remember. He throws most of it away. Marcus calls about a consulting opportunity. Small nonprofit in Portland. They're looking for someone with his experience. No leadership role, just advisory. It's a step down, Marcus admits. But it's something. David says he'll think about it. He doesn't think about it. Grace helps him pack the last boxes. They work in silence mostly. Have you talked to her? Grace asks eventually. David doesn't ask who. No. Are you going to? I don't know what to say. Start with sorry. I tried that. She didn't answer. Grace tapes a box shut. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Which part? All of it. The investigation. Standing up to the board. Helping Maris. None of it worked. It exposed the truth. The truth didn't change anything. It changed something. Victoria's gone. Kellerman's at least known now, even if he's not caught. People inside the foundation know what happened even if they don't say it publicly. David looks around at the half-empty apartment. What did I change? I lost everything. The foundation moved on without me. The fraud stopped, but not because anyone was held accountable. Just because Victoria disappeared. You tried. Trying isn't enough. Sometimes it's all there is. They finish packing as evening settles. Grace leaves around 8. Promises to help with the move whenever he figures out where he's going. David sits in the empty living room afterward. No furniture. Just space and echoes. His phone rings. Unknown number. He almost doesn't answer. Hello. Silence. Then breathing. Hello, he repeats. It's Maris. David sits up straighter. Is everything okay? Yeah. She pauses. I wanted to say thank you. For the apartment. And the lawyer. And everything. You don't need to thank me. I know. But I wanted to anyway. Are you doing okay? I'm managing. I have a job. The probation's almost done. That's good. More silence. I saw her, Maris says finally. Victoria. A few weeks ago. At a laundromat. David goes still. Did you tell anyone? No. Why not? I don't know. It felt complicated. Did she say anything? She said she gave the money to people who needed it. That it wasn't just for her. David doesn't respond immediately. Do you believe that? I don't know what I believe. She ran. That means something. It means she knew she'd be caught. Or that she knew no one would believe her side. There are processes. Processes don't work for everyone, Maris interrupts. You know that now. David can't argue. Anyway, Maris continues. I just wanted to call. Before I didn't. I'm glad you did. The apartment lease is extended. As long as you need it. That's not sustainable. Let me worry about sustainable. David, please. It's one thing I can actually do. Maris doesn't argue. Okay. Take care of yourself, Maris. You too. She hangs up. David sits with the phone in his hand. Looks at the empty room. At the windows showing a city that continued while his life reorganized around loss. He thinks about Victoria. About money moving through channels designed to hide it. About whether intention matters when methods are wrong. He doesn't reach conclusions. Sarah calls 3 days before David's move. I heard you're leaving, she says. How did you? Grace told me. You're talking to Grace? Someone should. David walks to the window. Boxes stacked behind him. How are you? Better. Different. I'm sorry. About the wedding. About everything. I know. I didn't mean. I know that too. She pauses. I've been thinking about what happened. About why you chose the way you did. Sarah, let me finish. You weren't wrong to investigate. I understand that now. But you were wrong about how you did it. You shut me out. Made decisions alone. Treated me like I was part of the problem instead of part of your life. I was trying to protect. I didn't need protection. I needed partnership. Even when things got hard. Especially then. David's throat tightens. I don't know how to fix this. You can't. Not backward. But maybe forward. What does that mean? It means I'm not ready to be with you. But I'm not ready to let go completely either. So we exist somewhere in between for now. For how long? I don't know. As long as it takes. David closes his eyes. That's fair. Where are you going? I don't know yet. That's very unlike you. Nothing's like me anymore. Sarah makes a sound that might be a laugh. Might be something sadder. Call me when you figure it out. Not to get back together. Just to let me know you're okay. I will. Promise. Promise. They stay on the line without speaking. Traffic sounds on both ends. Distance measured in silence. I should go, Sarah says finally. Yeah. Goodbye, David. Goodbye. The line goes dead. David stands at the window until the light changes. Until the city shifts from evening to night. He doesn't feel resolved. He doesn't feel finished. He just feels like he's standing in a space between what was and what might eventually come next. Maris's community service ends on a Wednesday. 40 hours at a food bank. Sorting donations. Loading boxes. The coordinator signs her completion form without ceremony. You're done, she says. Maris folds the paper carefully. That's it. That's it. Outside, the afternoon stretches long. She has a shift at the grocery store later. 5 hours before that. She walks without purpose. Past the courthouse where she was arraigned. Past the foundation building where it all started. Past the hotel where she spent one night in a real bed. The city looks the same as it did 6 months ago. Before the recording. Before the wedding. Before everything reorganized around one decision to speak instead of staying silent. She wonders if it was worth it. The center is still closed. The sign still says temporary. Everyone knows temporary became permanent months ago. Victoria is still missing. David is still removed from the foundation he built. Sarah is still gone. Richard faced no consequences. Kellerman was never charged. The truth came out, and the world shrugged. Maris sits on a bench near the water. Watches boats move in patterns that look purposeful from a distance. Her phone buzzes. A text from David. Lease extended through June. No strings. Just in case. She stares at the message. Doesn't respond immediately. Eventually she types, "Thank you." He replies with just, "Of course." No promises. No resolutions. Just acknowledgement that some debts don't get repaid cleanly. The sun lowers. Her shift approaches. Maris stands. Walks toward the grocery store. Toward the routine she's building from pieces that don't quite fit together yet. She thinks about the woman in the laundromat. About choosing to stay or choosing to run. She's still here. That has to count for something. Even if she's not sure what.